Contagious!
Hi and welcome to This is Contagious, a show where we look at how contagious ideas are shaping brands and culture. Today, Katrina is chatting to Mary Kish, Head of Community at streaming platform Twitch. Mary's going to be our guide through a world where engagement is measured in hours, not seconds, where the chat is a collective entity, and where the straight line of broadcast has been replaced by an interactive triangle. And of course, we're going to find out what brands need to do to win on Twitch. Over to you, Katrina.
So we are joined today by Mary Kish from Twitch. Mary, can you introduce yourself to our listeners and tell them what you do?
Yeah, thanks for having me. My name is Mary Kish. I'm head of community at Twitch. Twitch, for anyone who doesn't know, is a live interactive entertainment service. We service over 9 million streamers monthly. And I'm also one of those streamers. I stream every Monday.
Amazing. Now, we like to kick off these podcast interviews with a simple question. What, Mary, is contagious for you right now?
Right now, what is contagious for me is making meaningful connections with other people. I find what's so amazing is before we were able to actually start recording this, you and I were just talking a little bit about our hometowns, and you told me a really lovely fact. I am a gamer. I play a lot of video games, and one of the things I'm actually known for is playing all of the Silent Hills on the original console. Your town that you live in is going to be maybe the backdrop of the new Silent Hill.
That is correct. It's not even a town. It's a very small village. And you're a gamer, Mary. I very much am not. So yeah. I had not apprehended the full significance of this great event. But just in that little conversation with you, I have a much clearer picture of what an unbelievably cool thing this is actually.
It's actually incredibly cool. Gamers are notorious for being so appreciative and so exploratory with the environments of video games because they are interactive, because they're so immersive. You end up getting really sucked into these spaces. To know that you live in a place that the new Silent Hill is a great fact that I will carry with me. To going to your question, what is so contagious is not just meeting people, but really getting to know something about them and seeing how connected we all are to each other. You and I are from opposite sides of the planet. You are not a gamer, and yet we have something so in common. I wish to visit your village. I have to see. I think it's really fascinating how much connection you can have with any person once you just get to know them a little bit.
You've been at Twitch for 9 years now, Mary, and you still stream. You're streaming every day, like you say. What makes you excited to still be streaming on Twitch?
I think Twitch is such an exciting place to work at and exist in because it's on the cusp of technology and it's constantly changing. The issues or the problems that I was trying to fix 9 years ago have been corrected, and now I'm facing new fascinating problems to solve. There's always a code to crack. There's always something to uncover. And again, I mean, think about just how technology changes so quickly and how much has changed in 9 years. My job has changed. The things that I am working on have changed. And I have new mountains to climb.
So obviously in 9 years, like you said, a lot has changed. It's like eons in tech time. When you tell somebody outside of the Twitch and the gaming world what you do, what do they still get wrong about Twitch and that world, that environment?
I think that one of the fundamental things that we usually start with when I tell someone that I work at Twitch is they say, oh, you must be a gamer because that's a gaming website. And, you know, they're right. I am. So good for them. They have made that connection. But I usually have told them, you know, in the last 9 years, we've come a long way to expanding the types of content that we offer. Our number one category is often just chatting. We have IRL categories. We have travel. We have sports, music, DJs, food. You name it, you can stream it. We had NASA streaming from a space station. We have iShowSpeed streaming from the bottom of an ocean. If you can imagine it, you can stream it. And I think that needs to be explained.
Yeah. I feel like there's so many more layers and so much more texture to Twitch than people often understand. Now, I guess what occurs to me when you talk about the platform like that is that, people are spending plenty time on platforms like TikTok and Instagram too, but that's scrolling past loads and loads of different creators and contributors, a few seconds on each one, maybe. On Twitch, you can spend an hour just on one person. Yeah. What does that hour with one person give you that scrolling past 100 never really could?
Yeah, it's a fascinating difference because we are often compared. And there's a reason for it, which is entertainment and content creators. A lot of TikTok creators also go live on Twitch, but it is a very different experience because we're offering very different things. The average watch time on those sites that you're talking about is about 72 seconds. On ours, it's over 72 minutes. So what are they doing in that hour? The number one thing people do on Twitch is they go to a specific content creator that they wanted to see, and they watch them for a long period of time. I like to think that our content creators are so many different things. They're often comedians. They have interesting insights. They're very intelligent. They have something to say about everything. But you do need something that you can do for about 3 hours because that's about the average that our streamer goes live for. So what are they doing for 3 hours is something to unpack.
Yeah, it's a lot to take on as an individual, and to feel as though you can support someone's interest for so long. I think in the world that I work in, sort of advertising and sort of commercial communication, that amount of time is unbelievably indulgent in a lot of ways, but it's also unbelievably hard work as well, I guess.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying it's an indulgence. I do think that our audience predominantly being Gen Z, millennial, these are young people that do tend to have extra time, but you need to entertain them nonetheless. That football game that you watched for 2 hours better have been entertaining. This podcast can go to 45 minutes. That needs to be entertaining. You do need to capture entertainment in that time span to get people to stay and watch you. But I think it's the engagement that keeps them around.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I know that marketers have spent, literally decades sort of optimizing what they do to capture attention in a fleeting form.
Yeah.
Twitch is very clearly optimizing for sustained attention, but also for participation as well, a sense of leaning forward and often being a contributor, at least in a small way, with comments and feedbacks on those streams. So what is the difference between those two different approaches?
It feels like it shouldn't work, doesn't it? It feels like we are broken and that we're going to get uncovered at some point. How do you capture someone's attention for 60 minutes when it's so difficult to get someone to look at your billboard for 5 seconds, or to watch your ad, or to even just talk to someone? You feel like you're going to lose them. What we're doing is very different than most spaces, and it's really important. If anyone who is listening, if you walk away with one thing, what I really want you to understand is that most of the time when you are absorbing media is passive. You're watching television, you're listening to the radio, and those things are happening to you. They're happening at you. You're absorbing them. On Twitch, you are actually the secret part of the content, and the content changes based on what you do. So I would love for you to think of it instead of linear content going to person, right? So a straight line. And I would love for you to look at it more like a triangle. We have a content, which is whatever it is they're doing. And that could be anything. That could be cooking. That could be going for a walk. It could be traveling for ants. It could be playing a video game. It could be the creator who's very smart. They're interesting. They have something to say. They're always around. And you are the third part of that triangle. You are actually in what we call chat. And we'll talk about this a little bit later, but we've really impacted culture. You might hear people even saying, hey, chat, or chat, what do you think about this? Chat is an entity that exists on our service that is an amalgamation of a lot of people's opinions and thoughts and feelings. And the content creator is reacting to chat live, and it is altering what they choose to do.
It's sort of like asking the room or reading the room as you go about your performance or
Correct.
Your stream, yeah.
And it relies on that interactivity. We are not meant to be passive. We are not meant to be something that you just watch passively. We are meant for you to be involved and get in there. You absolutely can just watch passively, but the magic of Twitch is the fact that it is an interactive experience that actually changes based on your tone. You are the vibe police. You are ultimately deciding whether or not you like what you see or you do not.
Yeah.
And again, the content creator is receiving that feedback and they're adapting their content based on what you're doing in real time. And that is exciting. It is interesting. It can make you feel scared or excited. And that is truly when you know you're in it, is when you're typing something in chat and that content creator might read what you say live on air. And all of a sudden you have made something that could not have been made without you. Imagine how much more fun Game of Thrones would have been if you watched it with thousands of people hanging out with you, all getting really excited during those pivotal moments. That's what Twitch is every day.
It's so interesting, isn't it? There's something validating about that participation and being seen by the person who is the star of the stream.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting in terms of the evolution of the site, I guess. We know this began as a gaming platform.
Yeah.
But now the most watched category on Twitch, I believe, is like people talking, right?
Yes, just chatting is our most popular category.
How does that happen, Mary? Like, did the creators kind of drag the platform from one place there that it was excelling to somewhere that it didn't necessarily expect to go? Was it driven by the platform?
I think it was driven by technology. I'd love to take us back to the original foundations of Twitch.tv, which is originally actually was called Justin.tv. Because
I remember Justin.tv.
Justin was our founder.
Yes.
Justin actually started Twitch streaming his life. He was streaming Justin 24/7. He was streaming himself sleeping. He was streaming him making a sandwich and getting ready for the day. And when he founded Twitch and we kind of changed everything, it became a little bit less about the content of being Justin specifically and more about, hey, anyone can go live and you can all do whatever you want to do. But because we are engaging and because we are long form, what can you do for 3 hours? It turns out video games is something that you can do for a very long period of time. It is entertaining, it is exciting, it is fun, it will hold an audience. Mm-hmm. And although that might seem foreign to a lot of people, be like, how could you watch someone play a video game for 3 hours? My response to that is people watch soccer for 3 hours, people watch basketball for 3 hours. This is very similar. In fact, we even have our own tournament and sport division. It's called esports. Yeah. And you will watch people play video games competitively for hours. And yes, it is incredibly entertaining. And if you don't think so, ask your kids, because they really do love this type of content. And so I think it's something that is enigmatic. As technology expanded, it became so much easier to take your stream outside. You could take it anywhere. And as I was saying before, when we had NASA stream the Artemis 2 launch. And so you're talking about a time now where that would be very difficult. You'd have to have all this equipment and haul it outside. You don't need that anymore. People can go live very easily from the convenience of their own living room, and they can take their streams with them on vacations or at restaurants. And so just chatting is a reaction to the fact that anyone can go live with a phone.
I feel as though there's a very strong community element of Twitch. So, we have these individual streamer stars, but also just a wider kind of gathering around them of people who are interested in the same things, animated by the same things. What do you feel like, as somebody who is intimately involved with community on the Twitch platform, what are the strongest signals that somebody genuinely belongs to a community on the platform rather than is simply a consumer of passive content like you spoke about a moment ago?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many versions of that. I think that audiences are getting a little exhausted by the constant algorithmic content being fed to them. What we really specialize in is niche content, meaning this content will not appeal to everybody. It was made for a very specific group of people, and those people will really enjoy staying for a long period of time. What they tend to do when they feel like they have found their people is they are statistically much more likely to participate and chat and feel like they're comfortable in getting involved. They're much more likely to take an action, which is anything from purchasing a subscription to that creator that they like, or putting in emotes in chat, asking questions and getting engaged. We always find that the most obvious sign of a healthy stream is that there is deep, meaningful engagement going on between the content creator and the people in chat.
It's so interesting to hear that, because there's nothing more wonderful in life than the finding of one's people. The idea that birds of a feather flock together. What you were saying just now about the comfort of knowing that you're amongst like-minded individuals and feeling emboldened to take part. It speaks to something that I've been thinking about a lot in the world lately, which is this idea that social skills are actually perhaps not what they used to be in a lot of ways. People talk about the kids who grew up during COVID, for example, as having been through the social skills apocalypse, where they were sort of cut off from day-to-day, face-to-face contact with their peers, with their friends. And the idea that they haven't quite bounced back to the same level of kind of social fluency that perhaps you might have expected in years before. It's fascinating to hear that some of that kind of bravery is being found online amongst fellow enthusiasts, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it is the digital age, and so we have to be able to find the watering hole in a new way. Mm-hmm. And in generations past, I know for me, I was going to bars with my friends. I was connecting with people over common interests, and those conversations happened in bars. They happened in a coffee shop. And you want to have these congregating spaces. They are natural. We're driven to them. They give us enjoyment and serotonin, and we need them. Now, we are finding that a lot of those things are still happening. They're just happening in digital spaces. They're happening in subreddits. They're happening in Discord, which is a wildly growing app where people can find small micro communities where they can find like-minded people. And they're absolutely happening on Twitch every day.
How do you find that sort of sense of community is manifesting on Twitch? Are there specific behaviors or rituals, inside jokes? Like, how does it show up?
I think that emotes or emojis, as a lot of people would say, is a new type of communication method. You use an emoji or an emote to express yourself and your personality at that time, and that becomes a language. Mm-hmm. Twitch also has a language. We actually have global emotes that people use to express themselves, to be able to say that they're laughing or they're bored
specific
or they're
to the
angry.
Twitch platform.
Yes. We call them global emotes because they are available to everyone. Everyone gets access to them. Now, when you join a community on Twitch and you become a subscriber, you get access to exclusive emotes for that channel, and that becomes that channel's exclusive language. This exclusivity is important to how we communicate as a culture. It's not about everybody getting it. There's a reason that 6'7" was trending, and it's because nobody got it. The point isn't for you to get it. The point is for a certain group of people to say, this is our thing. You can't have it. Twitch does that with our language efforts. So the way you express yourself with emotes, the way you put yourself into chat can be very customizable. It's all digital, but it feels like you, and the people who get it, get it. If you know, you know.
Okay. So if you were dropped into a Twitch community that you'd maybe never encountered before, what are the clues that would demonstrate to you that this is a sort of healthy, thriving, and culturally unique and interesting place to hang?
I would say there's a really great example of a wonderful content creator on our service. Her name is Maya Higa, and she's a falcon rehabilitator.
I mean, you talked about niche. Falcon rehabilitator is quite specific.
It's very specific. She's also just an animal conservationist, right? She feels very strongly about it. And she decided several years ago that she was streaming on Twitch. She would always talk about it. She would show her falcons on stream, and she kind of grew her audience of people who said, these are actually not people who might natively say, I am so interested in animal conservation, but they liked her. She taught them, and she's interesting, and she's entertaining. And so she developed this following, and she said, listen, I really want to have my sanctuary. It's my dream. It's what I want to do. And so she launched a fundraiser on Twitch, and she received enough donations from her live streams to launch Alveus Sanctuary, which is her sanctuary for animals. And she actually streams 24/7 her sanctuary. So how do you know that this is a healthy space? Well, she has global emotes for her channel that are animals that she cares for, and they are live on the site 24/7, like Winnie the Moo, which is a cow that she has saved. And you can see the amount of people who put Winnie the Moo emotes in chat because they love Winnie and they want to make sure Winnie is okay. And so you'll see these animals and you'll see people posting about how Winnie is doing that day. And Maya will say, here's a fast fact about frogs that I bet you didn't know. And everybody will put their frog emotes in chat and they'll be like, I'm learning so much. A healthy chat is one where people feel really free to contribute and to grow along with the space. That sanctuary wouldn't have existed without Twitch. It certainly wouldn't exist without Maya and her intelligence and her entertainment. And it certainly wouldn't exist without the community that supports it with their communication and their interest in this subject.
Support is an interesting word in that context as well, because it's providing a sort of a safe space. It's the most wholesome thing I've ever heard. Just all this sort of animal sanctuary rehab content. But the sense of sort of safety around a place where you can indulge your interest and be yourself and play a part in that. You can absolutely see why people who maybe have that missing in their IRL life absolutely love being able to have this outlet. Whether it's digital, it still gives the same kind of biofeedback and sense of satisfaction and participation and inclusion, I guess.
I really appreciate your awareness of that, because something that's really important for us as a society to really respect and acknowledge is that there's many ways for people to feel like they belong. It does not have to happen in these traditional places. It might be where you feel the most comfortable is at your local library. But for other people, it truly might be that online space where they find other users that really make them feel like they belong. I think they have like a statistic of young people who have absorbed 60% of young people who have absorbed so much social media, they actually feel lonelier after they've absorbed it than since before, which it should have been the opposite.
I think it's the passivity and the idea that you can watch but you can't contribute. I think there's something fundamentally a little bit, I want to say damaging, but I don't really mean damaging, but it doesn't develop you so much as an individual. And I think a lot of people are missing that in their lives, this opportunity to join in somehow.
Yeah.
You do a lot of watching of people online and understanding the community dynamics that you're looking at. What are the signals, I guess, that you look for internally at Twitch, I guess, when you're sort of getting the sense that maybe something is bubbling up that is interesting and could become something more? How do you distinguish between something that is going to be a thing and something that's maybe just like a blip or a short-lived kind of fad? Is there a way of figuring it out?
It can be hard. You're really asking to predict lightning in a bottle. I think that we construct culture all the time, and we frequently say that something that's really popular tomorrow happened live on Twitch today. Do you know that it is going to be the most popular thing tomorrow? Not always. I think there are signals. I think that we have an incredible, one-of-a-kind content creator who is breaking barriers right now. His name is Kai Cenat. I think something that's important to recognize as well is Kai may be an incredible celebrity who's super entertaining and funny and witty and a fantastic dancer, but he's also going live from a room in his house. He feels very relatable. He feels like you or I, maybe a little bit more shiny and fun. And what makes him so different is that he was hosting incredible celebrities on his streams. Mariah Carey, I mean, it's just crazy the people he was being able to get on his streams. But ultimately, before all of this rise, you could really tell that Kai was someone special because of how much energy and enthusiasm he was able to elicit from his chat.
Okay.
That when he started speaking and chat started repeating what he was saying, we started recognizing that this is a person that can make catchphrases. This is a person that can alter culture. And he did. Kai was the first person to coin the term rizz, which I think is used a lot.
It is indeed.
Originally just using that to say that this person has charisma is a Kai term that eventually just kind of broke off.
I guess he not only coined the term, but he embodies it as well. He
maybe that was a part of it
himself. It's so interesting because as you're talking about Kai like this, I'm getting insane flashbacks to Wayne's World, the movie. Yeah. You're probably too young to remember it coming out, but just in terms of the relatability and the idea that Wayne was doing this from his home and that all these amazing people couldn't wait to participate. I'm getting strong kind of connections with that.
That is so true. And I think it is, again, it's the technology expansion. It's the accessibility. People can go live from their phone now. But what I always recommend and I always remind people is do not always do these things with this this end goal of like fame and fortune. Ultimately, being able to make deep, meaningful connections with another person is the point. That's why we do what we do here. So going live and finding another person that is really fascinated in the subject matter that you're very passionate about, that is the win. That is why we do what we do. So if you are interested in going live to find your people, I encourage you to do that. That is the main end goal that I've always found on Twitch.
And so this brings us rather beautifully, I feel, to the slightly vexed question of brands and Twitch. Because, you know, if ever there was a little bit of a sort of lurking ulterior motive, we know a lot of brands want to get engaged with younger audiences that they feel would connect with their brand. What are you seeing in terms of brand participation across the platform?
I think that I'm going to give you some examples of brands that I think are doing a great job, and I'm going to intentionally pick non-endemic ones. The reason I'm going to do that is because I think there is a misunderstanding sometimes that to appeal to gamers that you have to be a video game or maybe your brand has to be associated with technology. I think that's not a great way to make connections with people because they are more than just a gamer. We are more than just podcasters, are we not?
I contain multitudes, as Walt Whitman would have said.
I contain multitudes, and in those multitudes, I can respect that as long as the brand is helping me enjoy what I enjoy, I actually love brand. And how do we get someone to say that? I mean, I'll give you an example. Kai, again, just to like touch on this. When Kai was having this whirlwind of guests and doing everything they were doing, they actually did have a sponsor. It was State Farm Insurance. This doesn't feel like this should maybe make this perfect connection. It does. And guess why? Because State Farm is making it really easy for they're gifting subs. So in a subscription, just to rehash this, when you get a subscription to a channel, you get to watch ad-free. You get those emotes that you can communicate in chat. You get all these badges and digital rewards. State Farm was gifting those to people watching Kai. And so now all these people get to watch ad-free. Now all these people get to get all these digital rewards, and they get to like communicate the way they want to in chat. And so that is a great way to feel like you're connected, and it's non-endemic. Another really great example that I love to use is every year Twitch is very connected to philanthropy. I always like to say it's like the call center has evolved and it's Twitch. How nice is it when you donate that the content creator says, Julie, thank you so much for your $20 donation. This is going to a wonderful cause. And our streamers raise so much money for collective spaces that we actually have a holiday for it. We call it Together for Good. And every November, we usually tell every content creator, raise money at the same time, and we'll see how much money we can raise. Well, we had a brand come in. It was Wicked, the movie, because they were doing Wicked for Good, the new movie. And so Wicked for Good sponsored Together for Good. And together we raised $3 million in like a week for various charities. I think it's wonderful to watch brands reach out and say, how do we feel like we're connected of something bigger than ourselves? What I would usually say to any brand is it does not matter specifically what you are selling. Don't worry too much of whether or not it's endemic or not endemic. But if you can find a way to show the audience that you care about their experiences and the creator they're watching, you're probably going to have a really good time because those community members care very much about that streamer's happiness. They want them to succeed because then they can make more content.
All of that is super interesting to hear, and it will undoubtedly be immensely reassuring for all kinds of brands who feel like they don't really have an angle that's going to work. Conversely, though, Mary, what's the biggest mistake that you see brands making when they try to get involved in a passionate community on Twitch?
I want to appeal to everyone. My audience is all. Let's be real. If you're trying to appeal to all, inevitably you're going to make something with no corners, that's completely washed out, that's been overprocessed and overproduced, and it's meant for like just this like wholesome audience of all, and that makes everyone feel nothing. I'll use Elf as an example because I think that they're a pretty popular brand. Elf has been really clear to say, hey, we are appealing to a young audience that cares about other people. And they're uplifting, and they're not having it for someone who's maybe doing harm against others. And so Elf is saying, listen, beauty is for all, and we want to support people who care about other people. That is something our community can get behind. They've done a great job adding into the gaming space and saying, hey, gamers have to get ready too. Here's some products that help our average gamers feel like they can get ready, like, camera ready for their stream. That is effective, but it's niche. And so I strongly encourage brands to recognize your market. Please don't cater to all. Find your niche and shine in that specific space.
I feel a lot of brands kind of step towards social media saying or thinking that they want community when what they really want is reach and access. What does designing for participation and for some of that back and forth actually look like in practice on Twitch? And how do brands set themselves up to take that into consideration and do it right?
Yeah, I mean, I think anyone who works in brand and is working in ad sales and things like that, they know this. But this is my reminder that you do have to do that homework, and you have to recognize what's unique about the platform that you're on. What's really unique, again, about Twitch is because it's interactive. Certainly there should be something interactive about your brand in this space, right? A great example of that is DoorDash. This is like such a common thing. Everybody loves to get their food ordered. It's so nice when it's there. But because Twitch is interactive, what if chat got to decide what you ate for lunch? What if the content creator said, I'm putting out a poll, you get to decide if I'm having pizza, wings, or a 7-layer cake?
What you're describing right now, Mary, is my absolute worst nightmare. Absolutely unacceptable. But I mean, if your creators are up for it, absolutely go nuts.
I know. They do like it. And I think it's really funny when chat gets to pool together and decide what the content creator is eating, and then they get to have it delivered and eat it. That was pretty fun because I actually was involved. It's important to recognize, if you don't know, spend some time on Twitch. We have live interactive polls, so chat can actually vote. We have prediction polls. They can be like, I think you're going to do this in 4 hours. And there's ways that you can play with that interactivity. Don't sleep on digital goods like global emotes, which we can do. When we did the NASA stream, we had moon emotes, and people were all putting out their full moons.
I have to just quickly ask, how did the NASA thing come about? Did they come to you guys? Did you reach out to them? What's the story there?
Well, we're both on the cusp of technology is the answer I'd love to give you. But I believe that it's because our CEO, Dan Clancy, used to be foundational and work at NASA. So he was like a pretty prolific in that space as well. That being said, I think we were on NASA. We've been on NASA for a really long time. NASA's been on Twitch for quite a long time. It's been a good relationship. I think they recognize the fun. Seeing a rocket launch on chat is unmatched. I mean, it's electric, you guys. And again, I've said this before, but television is better with chat. It is better with 20,000 people saying, I can't believe I'm watching this. I was here. That happens with us.
Yeah, there's something different about experiencing things together. I had a conversation with somebody who made the observation that we live in a culture where, we're leading our busy lives, and often we'll meet up with our friends every couple of weeks and we'll catch up, is the phrase people use. And that is basically you giving them a list of the things that you've done, and they give you a list of the things that they've done. And that's kind of it. And you go your separate ways again. But the point that they were making is there's a fundamentally different headspace that you're in if you're experiencing life together. And I feel as though the kind of spaces and communities that are gathering on Twitch are having some of that participatory doing things together goodness.
I think that's very insightful. I think that there is an element of social interactions that are sharing, and they're also, hey, we're here in this space. Twitch is very much built in the now. It is live. And so we cultivate a lot of FOMO, a lot of you had to be here. And one of the other phrases that we've coined is I was here. And that happens a lot on Twitch, which is when that rocket launches, when we beat that world record. The Mountain from Game of Thrones, he was like that really strong guy in Game of Thrones. He broke a world record for deadlifting on Twitch. And all of the chat was basically like, we were here when the deadlift record was broken. We also watched him practice. We also have seen his house and like hung out with him, when he was eating his sandwich 2 hours ago. You are experiencing the raw, unfiltered, honest reactions because what you are seeing can't be rehearsed. It can't be undone. If you make an accident on Twitch, that's just the way it is. And so you are experiencing an honesty and humanity that is often lost in other spaces.
It's so interesting. If online community is becoming more important, and it feels like it is, it's interesting actually just saying that to contrast what is developing on Twitch with kind of what we were promised 20 years ago, sort of Facebook connecting the world.
Yeah,
kind of
totally.
didn't work out the way anyone was anticipating. But there is community and gathering happening in spaces like Twitch. So what behaviors do you think that marketers should be paying much closer attention to over the next few years as the sort of community vibe develops online?
I think that finding a way to create deep, meaningful, lasting connections will resonate with people much more than that quick ad that they see passively in between the other 400 pieces of content and advertising that we absorb every day. I think we overuse the word authenticity. And when you are able to authentically and earnestly showcase the humanity of any brand, I think you can find ways where we find the humanity in ourselves, and to have that reflected in a brand is an incredible, incredible win that we all wish that we could have. But the truth lies within, did you honestly see the humanity in what you were constructing? Are you selling a product, or are you saying this is something that means something to people and I want to be a part of it? I want to say I was here too.
So as we start to wrap up this conversation, Mary, imagine you're advising, I guess, a global brand CMO who's trying to understand where culture is heading. Why should they spend more time observing Twitch specifically? What might they learn there that traditional research would probably miss?
I think there's a lot of data in addition to getting clicks or, I think the data points are very important. I think that something that's untapped that I'd really like to see more people attempt as well is what stops you from working with a content creator and saying, hey, I want you to ask this question live to the 5,000 people who are watching, or even like the 500 people who are watching. And I want you to say, hey, I sometimes get bored at work and I can't keep my focus. Does that ever happen to you guys? What do you do about it? And your chat will be flooded with 500 people saying, this is what I do to keep focused at work. Mm-hmm. Now that's fascinating data points. You're getting 500 people all talking to you at once about a subject matter. I think that brands could learn a lot asking chat questions, getting insights from them, and the data that you can get from Twitch is unmatched. I also think that because you're doing these things in real time, there's something electric and enigmatic about saying, hey, we're doing this at one point in time, and if you weren't there, it's gone. We had a musician, Fred Again and Skepta and Blackboy Max, who released a song that they also helped record live on Twitch. You were either there or you weren't. And then the music video was debuted on Twitch as well. We're seeing a rise in music marketing because music is kind of here and then it's gone. So embrace the fact that you're doing it, you're putting it out there, and then it's gone. That's it.
I'm
so
hearing carpe diem in my ears right now.
Go for it.
Looking outside the Twitch platform, is there a brand or business that you think does community really well? Is there like a kind of beacon brand in that respect, do you think?
I think that when you can tie your brand to celebrity and not lose humanity, you're doing something right. I think Spotify is doing a really good job with that right now. I think when you think of popular artists, I think you easily connect them to Spotify.
Final question. We've covered so much ground today. It's been so interesting. But if there was just one thing that you wanted people to remember or take away from everything that you see and do on Twitch, what would that thing be, Mary?
I would really like you to walk away with the idea that interaction is where it is at when it comes to content. You are going to have a better time feeling like you participated in something than passively watched it. Television is better with chat. Getting involved in the content and feeling you're a part of something bigger than just watching it, that is the magic of live streaming, and it's the magic of Twitch. It is a little stressful to put your first comment in chat, but I encourage everybody to take that leap of faith and say, hey, what does it feel like to get involved in this space as opposed to just watching?
Well, Mary Kish, thank you so much for participating in This is Contagious. What an absolute pleasure it's been. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Contagious.